We're in July now, and it's time for another gardening update. I'll just walk around the garden and talk about what we see. These are the potatoes. I went ahead and harvested the potatoes from 4 or 5 of the Yukon Gold plants. We didn't get any real big ones, but I'm thankful for the ones we got. They'll be good. I'm not sure how we're going to use these yet, but I sure wish we had some homegrown green beans to go with them. A lot of them don't look so hot, and I see some damage to one. Right there you can see the tops are chewed off. Usually what does that are the blister beetles. Here's a look at some blister beetles that I got off of an eggplant a few years ago. If you don't want to mess with spraying them, you can just knock them into some soapy water and that will kill them. I haven't seen any, but I'm sure that's what's doing it. So I'll keep the spray handy for that. We got some cleome or spider flower there next to the corn. Here's our petunia tower that I made. There's some stackable pots with some of our project peppers in them. The sweet potatoes have really started to grow now that it's hot for good. While we're here, let's just look at some of these new plants that I have planted. I've got a whole bunch of bush beans I'm trying out. If I can see what the tag says. There's Kalima. That one I've just been calling BDR because it's hard to pronounce. Dragon tongue. Got some peppers there. More peppers. And we've got royal burgundy over there and red swan. And then there's one tag over here that's got dirt all over it. Blue Lake. Out here we have our hybrid corn project. They look pretty rough after the hailstorm, but this is probably our best variegated one. Then down on that end we have some more that are variegated. They're kind of beat up, shredded, but that won't hurt anything. Then down here I have some that have the tassels cut off, and these are my original popcorn project corn that I've worked on for several years. I'm crossing the ornamental popcorn. You can see it's producing lots of pollen. Crossing that with this over here, I cut the tassels off of this, so the only thing that can possibly pollinate it is the ornamental popcorn that's variegated. So that'll work out just fine, I think. And then I'll probably plant some of the seed from this next year and pollinate it with whatever this produces this year. And back here the pole beans are looking good on one side of each cage, but the south side got really the heck beat out of it by the hail, and you can tell it just doesn't look as good. Kind of bare over here. We have some long beans getting ready to climb these poles, and our skunk beans, they're almost to the top of these poles. And we've got a couple of cucumbers down there at the bottom that are starting to grow pretty well. Let me get back over here. I also planted some bush beans in this row. And we've got another eggplant that's about ready to pick. These are the real black eggplants. Those are the melons in that cage. They're starting to climb. The storm knocked that big carrot with all the flower heads down, so I staked it up, and they're starting to dry out. Here's that candy cane pepper. It is starting to produce more variegation now, and we're getting some more ripe peppers, and some of the peppers are getting variegated. I had quite a few peppers on some of these plants, but we had a little misunderstanding. Tanya wanted to know if I wanted her to pick some peppers, and I said, yeah, just pick the purple ones off the Buena Mulata, which is that one, and the Oda, which is this one over here. And she somehow took that to mean pick all the peppers on all the plants. So I used to say that we weren't on the same page, but that time we weren't even in the same book or the same library. Oh yeah, over here, this Baroni has got quite a few tomatoes on it, but it's getting a little blight. I need to stake it up a little bit better. All of the tomato plants have tomatoes on them. I'm kind of walking in circles here. You can see this one is Mary's Cherry, and the size of the tomatoes really vary. Some of them are actually what I'd call close to medium size. Then we've got the Audrey's Love. It's got a couple that are getting ready to get ripe. That is the Chocolate Champion, I believe. It doesn't have too many, but it's got some. The Bundaberg Rumball over here has got some. Got a couple of cucumbers in that cage finally starting to climb. Then we have some caterpillar damage on the sunflowers. So you might check over your sunflowers, especially the bottoms of the leaves. That's where they usually start. Here's a look at some of the caterpillars that were on it. We have one small butterfly in particular that we have trouble with laying eggs on our sunflowers, and it's called the silvery checker spot butterfly. Here's a look at one that I actually caught in the act of laying eggs on a sunflower leaf, and they usually lay the eggs on the bottom side of the leaf. So if you don't look at the bottom side, you'll never see them. This is what a cluster of the eggs look like, and after they hatch, they have a bunch of caterpillars, usually all in one spot. Here's a look at a bunch of them that are just getting started. Once they start doing more damage as they grow, they kind of spread out, but they'll usually be all on one leaf at first. And some of the sunflowers are getting pretty tall. There's one that's about 9 feet tall, probably. Speaking of sunflowers, these here are about 7 feet tall. And I had to stake one of them that was laying down after the storm. The gophers ate all the carrots on this end, so they're still bothering me. Carrots down here are doing pretty well. I'll probably have to pull those before the gophers get those. The beets are just not doing all that great, but they're starting to grow a little bit. We'll get some pickled beets out of those. That's what we really like. And here's the Matoyos finally getting some eggplants on it. You can see the shredded leaves from the hailstorm, but it's coming back. All the plants are coming back. And then we have the zinnias. We've got quite a few of the ones with red streaking in them. That's something that I've been kind of working on for a few years, trying to get it into other colors besides just white and yellow. If you look carefully at this pink one, it's actually got some streaks in it. It's dark pink on light pink. We have another one there, and this one's kind of an interesting one. It's got the red streaks in a very dark orange. And we got a couple down here. Kind of a pastel yellow. It's getting kind of ugly. And there's one kind of a peach, orange peach color. And then we have the amaranth that popped up in the zinnia row that I let grow. It's a really beautiful plant. The fennel's still about, now it's over 6 feet tall now. I cut a lot of leaves off the bananas. Here's what the bananas look like before I trimmed them up. And not only did I take off a lot of leaves, but I also removed some of the plants that were spreading outward from the main clump. A few of these are close to 6 feet tall and already had some pretty good roots of their own. I found out that the closer you get to the main clump, the harder it is to get through the roots. This one already had a couple of pups forming, and it's starting to look better. Then back here we have the sunflower jungle that I'm letting grow. There's some of the Carminate blooms. Haven't got any beans on the pole beans yet, but that won't be long, I don't think. Now let's just walk down the side of the garden. That one pot there with nothing in it, I'll be planting something in it today. Some of our project peppers. There's some of the ones I've been calling Halloween. Got very dark foliage with the orange peppers, and then there's the variegated version here. There's the parsley. I noticed black swallowtail butterfly. Found that the other day, so I'll have to watch for caterpillars. The cilantro's going to seeds. You can see them forming here. As soon as this stops flowering, they'll produce seeds, and then once it dries out, I'll save those seeds and plant them. The basil's starting to go to seed. I'm not sure whether to let it go to seed or try to keep that trimmed back, but we'll figure that later. Then we have the oregano and the chives. That's about all we have going on in the garden this week. I just want to take this time to say a big thank you to all of you for all your kind words and well wishes after our storm. Everything pretty much came out okay except for a couple of things, but I just can't get over how kind and thoughtful all of you folks are. So I just wanted to say thank you. I could tell this video was going to be way too long, so I'm going to have to split it up into 2 parts. Stay tuned tomorrow morning for part number 2. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.